Why don't we get going here? I'll call the meeting to order, and good afternoon and welcome to the April 25th, 2024 meeting of the Fitchburg Historical Commission. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting and for rebroadcast. I see we have no guests, and commission members here with me are Ellen DiGeronimo, Don Ostrowski, Andy Lepasti, and my name is Keith Chenot, and I'm the chair of the commission. We have one guest, and Mary Beth, welcome to our meeting. And we'll get to you very shortly here. So just a little bit of upfront work here. Our agenda, public comment period. I see we've received none. Moving on to item number 2, review and approve minutes to the March 28th, 2024 meeting. A couple hours ago, I sent out an email with a couple suggestions for amendment, a couple minor things.
I didn't look at my computer today.
Okay.
I say, if you might want to repeat what those.
Sure. Let me just see what I sent here. My suggestion was in item number 4, the second paragraph, next to the last sentence might read, let's see, Don replied that the new design seemed appropriate and helped us understand the removal of the street side stone wall. He was kind of referring to waiving a requirement, and as we have no requirements yet, that there wasn't any waiving of requirements as noted in minutes. And the second one, number 7, and it says last sentence change. It is number 7. I can't remember what is number 7.
They don't find their parts of his.
Yeah, and he was hoping he would come to this meeting, the April meeting, instead of the May meeting. James may join us later on or not, so I've emailed him and invited him again. So maybe he'll come to the May meeting if he doesn't show up later. And those are the 2 suggestions I'd add forward.
Would you have on 7 again?
7 change. The last sentence in number 7, change May to April.
Oh, yes, noted he will try to make it to our April meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was convoluted in my reply.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any other thoughts or comments on minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes of the March 28th, 2024 meeting minutes and
As amended.
Revised, or as amended.
Okay, a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye. Opposed? None? So moved. Okay, moving on to item number 3. Our guest is Mary Beth McKenzie, and Mary Beth, if you'd like to introduce yourself and thank you for joining us.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. And Keith, thank you very much for the invitation to be here today. As Keith mentioned, I'm Mary Beth McKenzie. I'm the Associate Vice President for Finance and Administration here at Fitchburg State University. And Keith has invited us to, and the timing is very propitious in that to talk a little bit about the theater project and some updates in relationship to that project. Keith, I don't unfortunately have any pictures to show at the moment because we are kind of in the midst of a regroup. But what I would like to share with folks is that about a year ago, we finished the design, which at that point in time identified kind of a 3-phase piece. Second phase being the building an addition beside the theater, which would have been a black box addition. And then the third phase would be the historic theater. After we received our pricing and understood where we were at financially, we took a pause last fall to regroup and reassess if there were other better opportunities that we might explore to find a solution that could be more feasible to move the project forward. We have, with the assistance of an external or another consultant that we brought to the team, we are reshuffling our approach with the intent to actually build a black box within the theater building. So we are going to eliminate the addition. And so I want to talk just briefly about what that would be. We are going to use what would have been the mezzanine, what used to be the mezzanine or the balcony seating. And in that area of the theater space, we will build that black box. And that will also be inclusive of some the technical theater. So we're figuring out what kind of grid will be available to support the lighting, things of that nature. And we are also looking at, creating new dressing rooms, green room, et cetera, and mechanical services for that portion of the building. That will do a couple of things. One, we will invest earlier than planned in terms of being able to reactivate the entry to the building and the lobby area as well. And we will also be accelerating repairs to the envelope of the building. And so currently we are in design with the a roof replacement and masonry repairs that will encompass the rear and 2 sides of the building, essentially accomplishing stabilization of the building, retaining the somewhat limited but historical features from the exterior that will be subject through review through Mass Historic as well. And we're expecting to do that work starting at the end of this calendar year and continuing into 2025. And then that work would be followed by the construction of that black box. And again, so that would reopen the and reestablish the historic marquee. The entrance to the theater would continue to be at the historic theater entrance, reactivate a lobby area space, and then the black box space. The last phase would still be a phase 3. What we will do is the historic stage, proscenium, orchestra pit, those things will be left in place for a phase 3 renovation in the future. So those features will continue to be retained and be able to be updated as the project continues to advance. But we anticipate construction would start in 2026 for the black box. So we'll be making some improvements for the black box and lobby space that would include and ensure accessibility as well, and making sure that all of our community members are able to use our facility. So that's the short version of where we are currently at with this. We will continue to improve the exterior in compliance and consistent with historical standards. under the guidance and acceptance of Mass Historic. The one thing I would share that's a little bit different as part of the departure, we are no longer going to be pursuing historic tax credits at this point in time. Again, that could change as things advance, but for the immediate future with the exterior repairs in the black box, we are not anticipating using any tax credits for that purpose. I would certainly welcome any questions if there are any.
So as I understand, the black box is where the mezzanine was or is now, so it'll be up, it would be up above the main floor of the theater.
It'll actually use the volume of both the entry level that would sit under or where below the mezzanine and into the mezzanine area. So right now below the mezzanine is, well, I wouldn't use them, but some of the technical spaces and support spaces. So those will be eliminated in order to create that lobby, and then the black box area that'll sit below and go through the full volume of the where the mezzanine would have sat.
And do you have any estimate of the dimensions of what that black box will be?
I should, but I don't at my fingertips. It is, so it'll take a little less than kind of, I'm trying to think of the whole theater volume. It'll take less than half between the lobby and the black box and leave about a half the space then for the phase 3, third phase of the renovation with the historic stage. And I don't have a volume. We're anticipating that it would accommodate about 150 guests within the black box, depending, of course, on the staging setup. For those of you that are familiar with the black box, it literally is a very blank slate. And then a set is, included, seating is included based on the, design of the director and producers. So that would be available both for theatrical performances from the university as well as other performances, and obviously involve community use as well. So that is the plan.
Okay, well, you basically answered my question.
Very good.
I wondered how many people it would accommodate.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you for the update. It sounds like certainly a progressive way of approaching it and providing, on a reasonable time frame of stabilizing the building beyond what you've done a lot of work so far, and being able to make use of the building in this kind of three-phased fashion. So, and community access to it, and certainly the university's theater and community theater would have access to it. And I think, and we hear a lot about theaters converting to the more versatile black box way of doing things, and it'd be great to have something like that on Main Street. And the phase 3 still having the proscenium theater, perhaps with a little bit less seating, but the ability to have full stage loft type of scenery types of accommodations, more of a two-dimensional theater than the black box kind of concept, but the traditional theater that we all know. So. Great. Any other questions from members here? Or?
Well, I just wanted to mention that in the phase 3, if you are looking at possibly getting tax credits and having the historical commission support, someone might look into the history of the theater there, including when they sound strange, but what movies were shown and when? I mean, this movie aficionados find this kind of information, really, fascinating and events, associated. I mean, it doesn't, it would help to maintain the historical heritage of Fitchburg. Because at one point, Fitchburg was the go-to place for North Central Massachusetts. It was the cultural center of North Central Massachusetts. And the theater right across the street, that was one of the centers, right there.
Yes, we do. We have actually, we're working with a historical consultant and to help also advance because the theater could not be recognized as a single standalone historic building. Continuing the work with the historic district, and that same consultant is working with us to document some of that history and make sure that that information is captured both as part of the historic district as well.
Yes, thank you. I just don't want that history to be lost.
Yeah. That, you know, you know, from, I guess, the city standpoint and from our commission anyhow, we appreciate the university backing the Upper Common Historic District nomination. And we think that is going to be a very important contribution that the university is sharing with the city. And I think it's going to affect a lot of things in this end of Main Street. And so it's very important, and we appreciate the guidance and example that you and your team has put into that. So that's great. Was there ever a vaudeville, or was there ever an organ in the theater itself? Yeah, those.
It was, and there is in the space where the organ and the pipe resided, continues. There's the grill that was there is still there. And the university has actually obtained a pipe organ, and it is currently in storage, that was donated to us that will be used as part of that renovation when we get to that phase 3 stage. So we do actually have one.
Terrific.
Are you also going to keep the boxes where, you know, people could sit away from, you know, the actual theater? There were some boxes on either side, as I recall.
I don't recall that being the case in the interior at this point in time.
I may be wrong, but I think I remember that.
Yeah, they aren't there anymore. So we would have to look at either look at any drawings or pictures that we have to determine, you know, what would be what we would return that seating area back to.
Great. Okay. Other comments or questions?
Is there any discussion of this project on the university website that people can look at?
We should be in the coming weeks, and again, this is relatively hot off the presses. In the coming weeks, there should be some more material that will be coming forward related to this change of direction. I believe we'll be having some things both on the website. I think some things will be coming out in the Fitchburg Sentinel and Enterprise. And we'll be doing some follow-up with the mayor's office as well, and other representatives for the area with some talking about the update to these plans. And we are advancing the design for the black box, and hopefully I would anticipate sometime in the next few weeks or by early June, we may have some plans that we would be able to kind of share that give us a better sense of what this re-envisioning will look like, and be able to share that. But I anticipate that will be coming very, very soon to a theater near you.
Great, thanks.
Really enjoy it.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mary Beth, and we appreciate your time for the update.
Thank you for the invitation. Have a
Okay.
wonderful afternoon.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Take care. Okay. Well, that sounds good. And it's great that they're continuing with the nomination for the Upper Common Historic District. Received, I think I shared some of the latest drafts with the members. And about a month ago, maybe. And if not, I will resend it out again if you'd like. Which is the nomination papers. It's about a 70 to 100-page document of nomination process that goes all the way from School Street and the School Street School down to include the library. So this whole chunk of Main Street, including this building and on down to the library. So if you want to take a look at that draft, I can send you a copy of that.
That would be good.
Yes, if you send it again, I don't remember getting it. Again, which, but.
And I'm if you have a chance to take a look at it, it's got a lot of information in it. I'm making a list of suggested amendments or corrections to it, along with Mass Historical looking at it also. Maybe I could print out a copy for you too. It's easier to read that way. So
That would be nice. Thank you.
it's a very interesting, a lot of good information on it. We just want to make sure that when it goes through, it's kind of an update on some of the histories of the building.
I can remember going there when I was there. There was also another theater next door called the Lyric. And, but the Fitchburg Theater was beautiful.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
silent. Bobby Fischer, before he played the simultaneous,
Yeah.
went to a movie in Pittsburgh. It was about the Cassius Clay Sunday Liston in 1964. So I was just assuming it was this theater, but it was the other one. I don't know. Was it this?
now the Lyric, I think, has been knocking.
So, yeah, Don is referring to the activity of chess clubs here in Fitchburg, and historically strong showings, et cetera. And that Bobby Fischer, a U.S. champion chess player, had visited Fitchburg. And if you've seen the serial Queens again, but he played multiple against many Fitchburg chess club members simultaneously at one.
56.
How many?
56.
56 games going on where against 56 other local players probably
He
came
won
in.
49.
Yes. No, amazing statistics of personalities who've been guests in our city. So.
Yeah, I think if we can have a plaque in the common village, never gave a speech. We could have something indicating, yes, that Bobby Fischer gave a simultaneous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bobby Fischer visited a movie here. Sure, all of those things are, great pieces of our city's heritage, so, big and small. Okay, moving on to number 4, activities for May Preservation Month and the brochure release. The historic areas in downtown Fitchburg brochure that we've been working on is in its last edit, I hope, and should be ready for the printer for printing and release at during May, and hopefully at our May 23rd.
That would be wonderful.
Celebrate Fitchburg's historic preservation event. So just a little bit of a follow-up on the May event. And to let you and the public know is that the mayor is going to make a proclamation to the city in such that the city of Fitchburg is going, and her proclamation is to declare May as Fitchburg's historic preservation month.
Yeah.
And I have a draft of the proclamation with some write-ups and stuff that these corrections have been made. So the mayor has asked if there's a time where we think that this might be a good appropriate time to release this proclamation, when it should be dated. We do it on May 1st, or anytime before that. And what type of
And
setting we might want to have for that.
it might be
Bring
nice,
out the scroll. And-
yeah, might be nice to do it week before.
Okay,
You know,
next week.
quickly.
Or this week, next week, I'd say. How would we want to, would we like some coverage of that, and how would we do that? So we have 5 days to figure this out.
Does proclamation state the whole month of May is preservation month?
Yes, and it will be, let's see if there's anything in here. Yeah, this is kind of,
I know, words that sound so attractive.
yeah, so that's pretty much of it. It's which is great, and it's going to be a kickoff for our May 23rd event, which is Celebrate Fitchburg's Historic Preservation event. And we're creating a historical society. One of our partners in this is maybe here's some copies of the draft of the poster that we're proposing.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
And it's great that the Historical Society has volunteered their graphics, volunteered to kind of help with this. And it basically reinvest in the historic resources, celebrates resilient neighborhoods that promote the reuse of existing infrastructure, support areas that are walkable, energy efficient, and enhance community livability, and celebrate the importance of historic preservation to Fitchburg urban revitalization. And
Do you think you could fit in the fact that there are 6 historic districts?
that'll be or just the brochure release on it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, sorry.
Yeah, that'll be a separate part of the actual ceremony that we have.
On the 23rd,
So,
right. And I spoke to you about Jim McGovern. I have a call into him. He hasn't called me back.
Okay.
So I'll call Eladia tomorrow. You know, he might be interested in participating.
Yeah, and again, any final kind of input, the sponsors are obviously our commission, the Historical Society, basically all city agencies, including community development and economic development, the mayor, and in-town Fitchburg, the Fitchburg Cultural Alliance, the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority. We're all kind of working together to support this Historic Preservation Month.
And New View.
And New View is being added to this along with the Hidden Treasures, with the Freedom's Way. We're trying to have this an event advertised on the Freedom's Way, May Historic Treasures, Hidden Treasures events that they have every year also. So we've added their logo in there too, so.
Who heads that up? You know?
It's,
Hello, how are you?
it's like a national parks organization.
Oh. Mhm.
So the Freedom's Trail is, kind of all, what is a Freedom's Trail? It basically starts in maybe Boston or Concord, Lexington.
Like up in the Concord.
And then heads
Just
out
up to
this
New
way
Hampshire.
and heads, so it's like 900 some square miles of space. And obviously Pittsburgh's included in it. And we've had events in the past that the city's been involved with, or the Historical Society. And we thought we would have that. Maybe something that,
I can put that up on, what's that on my,
I'll send you a final copy. This is
Okay,
the
cool.
draft one. We have all of our sponsors, not quite on there yet.
So I wondered how the pictures, the buildings were chosen,
Pardon me?
how the buildings were chosen.
These were the ones that would kind of fit, but some of them just kind of showing buildings that are in reuse or kind of from one end of the main street to the other. There's obviously a lot of neighborhood residential buildings that have a lot of great preservation on them also that just didn't make it onto this particular poster. But
I wonder about brand placement,
the which,
brand placement.
Yeah.
which,
Lounge or something.
Yeah, Mama Juan's,
The what?
Mama Juan's, the restaurant.
Oh, I haven't.
it's, it's an activity that's fairly new downtown and picking one or another. Do you think that's controversial or?
No, I just wonder, if anybody, it becomes, it's probably not an issue for us. This is,
Yeah.
but it is an issue in other contexts.
Yeah.
When, if you have, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Fay Club would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have that.
I think, a mixture of cultures and diversity and uses I thought would be interesting and for one justification, I guess. Which we're maybe missing a little bit on our cushion, so. Anyhow, any other thoughts you have, let me know soon. And, this is kind of the pictures we had and the graphic artist kind of pulled these and pushed them in there to see how it worked. So we thought to have some pictures and enough room for some words and the sponsors. And I don't know who all's gonna see this, probably not a lot of people. So how to put this out? I don't know if we can get FAB-TV to put it on their calendar or other
Oh, I'm
calendars.
sure they would.
Or if we can, if the city has like a Facebook page or some other media piece that we could put this on to also. Others are more connected to social media than. So if you have any suggestions on that, let me know. We need some voices in here. Okay, so that's the. And I'd like some input on kind of the program for the 23rd. I created a program. I think I sent it out, you copied everybody on another email I sent to Mass Historical Commission. Again, that was earlier this morning, so you might not have had time to take a look at it, yes.
Where would you want, Jim McGovern?
If he shows,
Yeah, I called his office and
yeah.
asked if he could call me
yeah,
and,
but let's go let's do a quick review through
Okay,
this.
sure, sure.
And then you can make a suggestion on that. We have, so the intention, this program is going to be held in the legislative chamber, so there's kind of enough room for seating, and it can be broadcast or rebroadcast by FATV, so that we're reaching more people rather than just ourselves and those who show up to make the presentation. So that's a good recording spot, and it could hold certainly a bigger crowd than this, and it's right off the street. Thinking of starting off with an introduction, perhaps the mayor introducing and kind of kicking off the event. And a welcome and who we are, the people, the sponsors of this or the organizers of this, which are on the poster. So Historical Commission, Historical Society, Community Development and Economic Development, In-Town Redevelopment Authority, Cultural Alliance, New View, and Freedom's Trail. Just a quick recognition of kind of the joint effort of this. Again, this is just a draft I put together. I think it would be best if we could do all of this in an hour's time. So I tend to make things too long. So if we need to cut and slash, we can do that too. Next, just kind of a brief history of the city for kind of those watching. And I thought maybe someone from the Historical Society might be a good presentation of that. And really just a couple minutes, and there could be a couple slides or something like that happening in the background. The early settlers in the first meeting house or whatever it is, the importance of the Nashua River to the development of the city, the railroad, the river, the industrialization, the power of immigrants and different cultures coming to the city, to the heydays, to the commerce of downtown, to the residential areas, and kind of the institutions that made the city what it is, and on up into today. And Ellen mentioned the cleaning of after the Industrial Revolution, the cleaning of the natural river, bringing it back to its much more pristine condition that it is now. So a quick highlight on those things, but not making it the whole program. So hitting the highlights of what the city, someone watching the program has a good brief understanding and hopefully whet their appetite for looking for more information in the history of the city. Following that history by raising the importance of why preserve buildings and what it does for preserving our community's heritage. Maybe this could be presented by community development, economic development departments here in the city that have training and experience of what we would like and the potential of our downtown and our various sub-communities and neighborhoods that we have throughout the city. And kind of the importance that maintaining heritage and preservation of our buildings and infrastructure within the city and how that's important to our city and other cities, and maybe perhaps using examples of other cities that are similar to Fitchburg, like mill cities and things, and how preservation can enhance and be part of the impetus to great living conditions in cities like ours, but the rich heritage that we have. Part of this is that we could show some quick images of buildings that have been lost in Fitchburg, such as the depot, the Johnsonia, the Fitchburg Savings Bank, the big vacant spot across the street from City Hall here, Lucy Helen Hospital, and kind of other quick types of pieces to kind of reinforce what happens when we start removing, some of our assets like that.
Well, the Johnsonian. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think most people, if we can show some before and after or something, and just a quick, piece on this, again, maybe we spend 10 minutes on this, but with a good punch and some good image illustrations of, what other cities are doing, some befores and afters, and what some of the great resources we have in our city. And some of the things that we've lost. So kind of talking about, we talked about our historic assets that we do have. And this, I thought this is a good time to follow with the release of the brochure. So, we would have copies available for those attending. We'll talk about the distribution, where copies can be attained at the library and city hall, et cetera. And also show on the screen large images of each of the panels of the brochure, so that the public can see what the brochure is and hopefully can get a copy. And we will be posting a copy of it on our website also. And perhaps other agencies and historical society could post it also. So there's both the paper and the digital copy available. I thought maybe Ellen could be the presenter for this. Certainly, part of your idea, or certainly your idea, and we've been working on this for a while now, so it would be great if you could help us present that. We had talked about having kind of favorite buildings throughout the city and getting citizens of the city involved, and perhaps through each ward councilor and the councilors at large, of having an outreach and a request for nominations or requests for each wards and neighborhoods from the citizens themselves, for kind of meeting criteria of what buildings they would like to nominate. We've made it reach out to one of the counselors, and unfortunately haven't heard back from them. And Ellen and I are hoping to contact maybe a couple of them to make this happen. Megan Donahue has volunteered to create a Google nomination form.
Okay.
And so this could be all done online, perhaps, either submitted to the individual ward counselors or submitted to a central location like our to us here, and we could then post these along with an image of each of the different wards, buildings or multiple buildings that they would like to show as examples of great preservation in their neighborhoods. We've kind of come up with some kind of criteria for that we can review a little bit more, but this again is trying to make this kind of broader than us just taking a day and a little television piece and nobody hears it, and trying to put this out in a.
This is very.
And we're a little bit behind in getting this to happen in the next 4 weeks or something to happen. So still could happen. Just need to get that out there and trying to find the right connections for that. So again, FATV said that they could have a large screen behind kind of the council seating, so that the screens are up on the left, that the speakers are in the front, and maybe a large screen back behind, so you're not looking left and right in the council chamber to see the images. So the images can be up there all the time while speakers are talking also. And it would be on the TV tape also. From there, I've emailed out to Mass Historical Commission if there is a representative that they would like to send to the event and perhaps make a comment about historic preservation in communities throughout Massachusetts and some insights that they can give on what other communities and the success of preservation and how it really enriches and increases property values, makes communities more livable, et cetera. So I got a reply back from our representative, regional representative at MHC, and she's going to ask who might be able to join us on that day. So again, a five-minute presentation perhaps by Mass Historical Commission. Again, this might be a good time if Jim McGovern, who's certainly a backer of preservation, if Ellen has made a call, and if he could join us maybe following this, that Jim could make, or previous to this, Mass Historical representative making a small presentation. Something we could include here is some information and data on preservation and energy efficiency. There's been a lot of recent studies in the last 10, 20 years about on climate change and the importance of preserving existing infrastructure and buildings. Hang on a second.
All right,
We'll be finished hopefully with this in about a few minutes. So. And I could do that, or we could eliminate it. We're running out of time. But I think it's kind of an important part where everybody's thinking of energy pieces, and
I think
warming,
that's very-
and there's some good charts and things talking about retaining the embodied energy that's already in existing
Invested.
buildings.
Yeah.
And by tearing it down, you're just taking that previous energy that was spent on that building, taking it to the landfill and redoing it all over again. And all of that, those building materials and things cost, mountains of carbon emissions to make those things happen again. So that's the upshot of it. So expanding it then. Nextly, kind of informing the public about resources available to them. If you have older buildings or would like to have an older building, finding out information about the history of the building. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Historical Society is a great archive of our community's past heritage. Also, our local community development, economic development, and the building department, the building commissioner, and the redevelopment authority are all here to kind of help people and development and responsible development happening here in the city. We can also talk about there's incentives to maintaining and restoring older buildings. There are actually 10% tax credits for just taking a building or redoing a building that's over 30 years old. And then if buildings are National Register registered buildings, there are state income tax credits, and there are also federal income tax credits for projects and other incentives that are made available through other state agencies for building and restoring areas, and particularly in downtown areas and close to our active train station, et cetera. So kind of showing those resources. Some other resources, finding the history of older buildings, the Historical Society, and publicizing how to get to the MACRIS maps, so that anybody online can find that, and we can show that on a slide up on the screen, the website to go to. And how to maintain, repair, and restore older properties. The National Park Service preservation briefs, and again, that's all public access on their website. Wealth of information. Next, resources for preservation specialists, contractors, and craftspeople. There's a great directory of available resources, particularly for preservation, that Preservation Massachusetts has on their website. It's called the Preservation Directory. We can post that website also. And then have open for questions and discussions. I could see this going into 2 hours, and kind of our thoughts as we make this pared down to have it so we're not keeping people longer than they would like to stay, but hopefully keeping their attention while they are there. So you can take a look at this and
This is wonderful.
make any suggestions. I'd like to have images up on the screen, kind of choreographed through the whole presentation as we're making this, so that there's images happening and websites available, so people watching it as a recording on FATV can pause it there, write it down if they want to. And I don't know, maybe we can get local newspapers or any other local news outlets or to come participate in this also.
I wonder if Charles would be able to help us, with putting the program together so that, it can be carousel on carousel.
Yeah. It'll probably be all digital images we'll put into a PowerPoint presentation or
right.
something like
You want me to call him?
He is, I said he's working today, but I'll coordinate that with him too, so.
Yeah, and including the buildings that were lost, if we could include some of the residences, like the house on Prospect Street, 19 Prospect Street, which was built in 1860, around 1860, was John Parkhill residence.
Who's that? Is that the second building on the right?
Yeah, it's now an empty lot. And somebody bought it, was renovating it, and the workman did something.
Oh, I hope it is. I hope it isn't. I don't want to be able to house. It probably is.
Yeah, if maybe you two can work with the Historical Society, see if you can get some images in that.
Yeah, I haven't somebody.
Okay,
Did you say Prospect Street?
Yeah, 19 Prospect Street.
yeah, send it,
Boston State.
yeah, send it to me if you have it.
Yeah. I will.
I think it was Magnone's house.
Yeah, the residential would be great. That's kind of missing in the list here. All right.
Yeah, another building that we could, I forget, we can get a picture on South Street. It was
Oh, yes.
the Putnam's house. It
Yes.
used to be, school. What was the high school on South Street?
Notre Dame one?
Notre Dame, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the Putnam estate.
Oh, yeah, right next to the school, right?
Yeah.
Just down below. Yeah, that's a beautiful
Yeah, it is.
residence.
That's still there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah,
But wasn't there a school at, on Venus, was it Venus Road, Ward Street?
Oh, the grammar school.
Yeah,
South
where the, dollar store. is
Yes, that was,
Oh.
South Fitchburg Grammar School.
now. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we can.
And wonderful inside too.
Yeah.
Well, hospice school on South Street's still there.
Yeah. Simon saw. Interesting
Yes,
thing.
that's true. No windows.
Well, there's a new building there with no windows also.
Oh,
It's called the Amazon warehouse.
But their building, the windowless factory, that was such a big deal. I know I've told you that before. My son took me on a Sunday. Yeah.
So if you have images of anything like that, send them my way. Right now, I'm the collector of those images, so,
okay.
great. And some more residential would be good to kind of flip in there to, a few seconds on each one of them to make a great impression of what we're talking about. So any other thoughts on it, or our next meeting of the organizational meeting of this? And then you're all encouraged to come to this. It's May 6th, Monday, May 6th at 1 p.m. in the North Meeting Room,
Okay,
3rd floor here upstairs.
May what, please?
May 6th, Monday, May 6th.
Monday.
Yeah, when you mentioned the Cleveland, the National Grid, I wonder if somehow the conjunction with not at this, May event, but in conjunction with it, somehow we could show the documentary on Marion Stoddard.
Oh, sure.
That, I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh,
An amazing story.
it's breathtaking.
Yeah, and there could be a,
I,
you know, if there's a slide of her by the river
yeah. I'll
and the
call her.
website
I'll call
page
her.
on that, you know, where you could link into that video. You know, that little piece in there, people would go back to it and find it, and be, you know, it's a source of information. It's what it's all about. All right. You know, if somebody knows where that video is or the connection to it.
I've just written a note. I'll call Mary and start it.
Okay, and it might be online somewhere. It's just.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay.
makes it. Yeah,
Make-
it's an opportunity. This is an opportunity to kind of
Expand.
push preservation out there to the public and,
She might like to come to this meeting too.
great. Right, so any other comments, do spend some time on this and join us at the meeting on 6th, where kind of the other players involved in this should all be there. And I'm going to send a copy of this out to all of them. A couple of them have that right now, I think, but and get their input from it also, so we have kind of the following 2.5 weeks to pull this whole thing together. So the room is reserved, and FATV is all set up to help us with it. So,
I have a thought. I don't know when is the city to budget the first of the year, or is it done on the 6th? I mean, in July. I don't know, I'll find out. But if we could, be given some money so that we could perhaps hire someone to create an historic district of Prospect Street.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
yeah,
That's long overdue.
Yeah.
yeah.
But there's people who live up there, really lost.
Let's see if we can really hit hard on that. We have a meeting the end of May, and maybe as an agenda item, kind of moving forward after our preservation event. You're really kind of putting some work into that,
Okay,
and there's a lot of information on Mass Historical on how to create a historic district like that in your community, and it's an evolved process. We certainly, as a commission, would be involved in it. There would be a study committee.
yeah,
Obviously, all, you know, the residents involved in the decision making in this. So it's a very positive thing. Many communities have some great historic,
district.
local historic districts like
No,
that.
connected to the ones we currently have.
Yeah, and there's certainly other areas in the city that would be certainly eligible for things like that also. We can talk about certainly Prospect Street is our highly visible example of that. Okay, we have James Burnell here with us, and what I would like to do is skip over to item number 6 on our agenda, which is update on Monument Park repairs. And kind of talking with the head of DPW and James, and we've met in the past and kind of talked about all of our desires and our different roles in this. And James with Parks and Rec has joined us. And I guess I think our goals are all the same. And we're hoping to coordinate and kind of come up with a united front of how, particularly for our focus is Monument Park, and we're the overseers of any change in the Monument Park local historic district. And seeing over the last few decades, the repair and then kind of additional deterioration from, trees falling, et cetera, to this important downtown park area and historic park area, of how we can identify and budget and I think budget is a big piece of this, the proper, firstly, kind of proper consultants to be hired to document the repair work necessary. And secondly, the actual bidding and repair, construction repair happening in an appropriate, to meet kind of the historic standards that Monument Park, which was our Fitchburg Civil War monument to the 40-some.
Fitchburg pre-built.
Yeah, and maybe more than that. I've heard higher numbers than 40 of men, and certainly the nurses and probably some of them that have been involved in that conflict, dedicated to them and kind of marking a history and kind of the mid-development of our city and certainly the downtown area. And it's a treasure of heritage to our city right now. So maybe we have some ideas on this cast iron fencing repair. I think every time I look at it, I see additional balusters that are becoming deteriorated and losing their paint finish to them or whatever the finish is to them. Certainly missing railing parts, et cetera. And, it had been repaired at least once previously where balusters and railings have been restored in a historically proper manner. The second part is the actual monument itself, making sure that it's evaluated and that there's no major remedial or protective things that need to be done for that sculpture and the stone platform, et cetera, that it needs. We know that some of the stone steps up to the monument platform are heaving and kind of moving away from kind of normal frost heaves and things like that. Some other minor pieces of repair, including the entry steps, the granite entry steps off of Main Street that are misaligned, and things like this happen over time, and getting those repaired in a historically proper way. So, how can we, and kind of speaking briefly with the mayor, et cetera, there's very little money in the city's budget for, certainly it hasn't been set aside or it's been used for other things over time. Understanding that Certainly money is near and dear to everybody here in the community. And raising money is near and dear to people, but how can we, what's the process? And you as administrator for Parks and Rec, how can we get on the list of and allocate at least funding for into the future? And what's the process for doing?
So I can tell you that, I have what I think is very good news. I know you had emailed Nick as well, so you have some information from him about grants and stuff that I'm gonna start exploring. The Parks and Recreation budget combined make up 0.48 of 1% of the entire $158 million city budget.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
say that
Okay,
again,
yeah.
0.48.
Of 1%.
of 0.148%.
So money is in both budgets combined is very, very slim.
Sure.
So I do explore a lot of different grants opportunities, and I know I printed some off and I have them saved in my file that I'll be working on applying for different things like that. I know we have the bench thing that some people showed, like, just asked questions, showed interest, but no one really took the bait.
Mhm.
I can tell you that cost wise, so if you've been to Doyle Field, in the blue benches that you see around Doyle Field,
I haven't been there for a while, but one of my kids take me.
so if you look around Doyle Field, the Doyle Field, Conservation Trust
Mhm.
that manages that property, those benches, people pay, like upwards of $8,000 plus
Really?
to get their names put in for per bench. So the Doyle Field Commission makes about $5,000 for each bench that they put in. So I honestly thought the number that I put out for the benches that we did in our thing was, we were making a little money, but it was mostly to cover the costs.
It was 2,000 something.
Yeah, it wasn't like especially compared to what I saw other people getting for their, I was like, well, this is,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
I can post that again, but like I said, more I'm gonna be focused on grants and seeing what other historical pieces that I can get to help fix those things. The positive news, those casts of the fence,
yeah.
we found them.
Good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, during, it was like the end of February, March, my guys were cleaning out, the area that we have over at DPW, the park stuff, you know, trying to see basically stuff that we can get rid of or no longer needed or is broken, and they're going through and they send a picture. It's a Nick and I, and I'm like, Nick, are those what I think they are? And he's like, yep, I think they are. And I'm like, dude, please tell them not to call right away. Don't throw those out. You need those. So they're over there. We have them. So we can figure out how to take the next step with those.
Great, great.
So I wanted to share that. I know it's not all rainbows and sunshine, but I thought that was
Yeah,
some positive news that we do have them. We know where they are, and that's something that.
that's great. Yeah,
And you can mark down that, my family's gonna buy one
Okay.
for my husband.
Oh, okay. That's very nice.
Yeah.
So.
great.
I don't know, I haven't seen if my flowers sprouted up yet. I've been so swamped with.
There's some daffodils.
Are they? They're coming up? Oh,
Yeah.
good.
awesome. I was looking.
And up here too.
Go ahead, go
Like, they really are.
I was hoping, I haven't, like, just trying to get it, we're just trying to get everything,
Sure.
you know, started up and going and all
Yeah, all the leagues.
the water, well, even because I had my guy at Monument Park checking out the water to turn on the irrigation system, and we need to get the whole new piece fixed, the backflow preventer, the same with the turtle, the boy
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
turtle fountain, that prevent the, so we've been trying to do,
Yeah.
all those things, and now the grass is starting to grow, so.
Yeah.
It's just been busy, but I've been pumping out grants left and right. So I've added these to my list, to see if I can help get.
Is there, what is the process for, like, the city wants to buy a new park area or, create a new baseball field or something like that? These are kind of long-term things in some ways. We're not involved with the day-to-day
So if,
funding and budgeting process for the city.
depending on what, it'd be very difficult right now because of the 46 pieces of property that is under the Parks Department. There's only 4 guys to maintain.
Mhm.
So if it's, I could see the Parks Commission approving something like, let's say, if a piece of land that's like a wooded area or forested area
Mhm.
that really doesn't require
Yeah,
a lot of maintenance, like purchasing something like that next to like Cogsall or Coolidge, like if something like that came up. Like that I could see,
but how do you get that money from? the city?
there's other grant, either I would have to make a request to the city, and more than likely they'd probably put that money somewhere else. But there are other grants that are offered through the state and federally that to help acquire parks.
Yeah, I was just trying to use that as an example of, it's possible that, just do the fencing, it could be, a couple $100,000 plus or minus. I'm just making a guess, but from our kind of last look at it and getting somebody qualified to create the proper specifications for a preservation work, then getting the proper qualified contractor, and we have a list of preservation contractors.
Right.
That, could probably do that, and having the forms, certainly would help.
So on the park side, of just that number of $200,000, that's like half the park's budget.
Yeah, but, saying this is, and let's say we could get in grant funding for that, let's say we could get $50,000 from some grant piece. I don't think there's anywhere we can get whatever that $100,000, $200,000 is. We might be able to get through Mass Historical, which is kind of the one grant thing that you get over a multiple year period, is, the top, you would get $50,000. So we're still left with another $50,000 or $150,000 worth of funding that needs to make it happen. Let's say you wanted to buy new bleachers for the park or some recreation spaces. How do you, if it's a expenditure that's, this is a major park in downtown, to get that added into a city budget, or is that impossible?
It's not
Obviously, things
impossible.
happen.
So in the way the 2 years, the 2 budget processes that I've gone through, before I got here, the unfortunate thing, so for 5 years, the Parks and Recreation Department budget never changed, never increased, never decreased, it just stayed the same. So for 5 years, so over the course of 5 years, like, things happen, things, need to be repaired, need to be fixed, and if you don't touch those things for 5 years, now me
It's
coming
more
in,
expensive.
right, now me coming in, I have to not only make up 5 years worth of work and try to continue to move forward and address all these things that were never addressed.
Yeah.
So I mean, in my budgets, I have put forth very large numbers to address repairs in not only Monument, but several of the parks, like I'm talking, I put forth like $750,000, $1 million to help start addressing playgrounds and fencing, like a lot, like, and I can put it forward and explain the situation like I've done the past 2 years, and then this is depending on what the city, needs or prioritizes or what they have is kind of.
Nick had kind of recommended that we, as best we can, kind of put this and maybe jointly our two commissions, the Parks Commission and to jointly present this, to the mayor as a, you know,
I joined it.
as a major, you know, in planning, in financial and fiscal planning, that, you know, just so they're aware, because you know, there's,
Right.
if we don't mention it, it's.
And it is on a list, I have started putting together a list, she's asked for a list, regarding all the parks,
Mhm.
for like, capital planning purposes.
Mhm.
So like the pool at Coolidge has well, hopefully 3 years left. Depending on how everything functions underneath the ground, but.
Yeah.
So there's things like there's a lot of big, and then like I said, playgrounds that have been, it's a wonderful thing to have, to put playgrounds in for people to use, but they also require maintenance, and if you don't maintain them, then.
Sure.
You know, a playground 20 years ago probably cost
Yes,
a quarter of what it does now.
yeah, more and more rubber mats.
So-
Yeah.
So there is that list and all the pieces of, I did share the report that you shared with me with the mayor, so she did have. All the information from the meeting when you met with Nick and I, regarding, you know, the steps, the monument itself. And the fencing, so she has all that information. That's just
Okay.
the biggest thing. from that.
Would it help to, you know, formalize that with a request from us, or kind of a joint request from Parks Commission and the Historical Commission, with the budget?
Yeah,
You know, kind of a long-term budget piece, long-term, hopefully more immediate than that for Monument Park specific.
I would say yes, not this year,
Okay,
because with the budget that they're going, I think it's like in 2 weeks.
okay. Would,
So
your knowledge,
usually,
what is the budget? Each yearly, what is the budget process?
so usually, I want to say, don't hold me to the specific time frame, but I want to say it's either end of January or sometime in February that all the departments go
Submit.
and submit their budget to the mayor.
Okay,
And then the mayor takes that and meets with her finance team to come up with her budget of what they feel the city can, you know, handle and priorities. And then it's either the first or second week of May, it goes before city council, like they have those special budget meetings.
yeah. Some of it CBDG grants.
And CBDG happens beforehand, which is something that we probably could address to possibly fix a part of the fence, because they don't give a huge, I mean, it's usually like around $1 million or so in CBDG funding. That goes,
It spreads out.
right, so
very far.
in CBDG funding for this upcoming fiscal year, the Parks Department is receiving, it's either $34,000 or $37,000. So not a lot. And then last year, I think I got like 85, give or take, maybe somewhere in there,
Mhm.
to do a various bunch of different projects, so. But that's something that I could specifically, because the projects that I have they're not huge, but I could definitely write a request for a project to get, like around, I would say like $20,000 or so. I know it might not go that far, but.
Mhm. With that, so kind of time frame for us to have this in on a timely basis, not too early.
No, not so, yeah, right, so I would say like if we were to put something together like
November.
November, absolutely. And then we would have it, because then too, I could probably have a good idea of what, after I apply and see, grant wise too as well, like, and we can include that to show, like, we have, this is what we're hoping to get accomplished. We're applying for these grants in X amount of money.
Mhm.
We're requesting in these grants, we're looking for the city support of X amount of dollars. So at least we'll have
if, some of these things that they need,
I got it.
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, no problem.
if they need, like if you were doing a building, you'd have to have design work done ahead of time, so you kind of design fees, then there's the
Yeah.
actual construction.
Right.
My thought is that the fencing, as it was done in 2003, had a professional preservation.
And that was that the person who made the cast?
They made the original documents and the specifications saying the cast iron has to meet this specification. It has to meet these profiles. These are the individual pieces that actually need to be replaced. This piece of railing,
Yeah.
this baluster, this finial on this post. And there's a drawing, and then there's, 30-40 page specifications of, qualifications of the contractors, what insurance they need, kind of all the
Right.
general conditions. And then what's the cast iron made of? What's the paint going to be on it? Exactly how they're fastened, and it's stainless steel fasteners or welding or whatever these things are as they do it. So it's somebody that's worked with historic cast iron just to make sure we don't end up with something that's made with plastic or somebody that's never done this or doesn't know how to work with antique materials, essentially. It's kind of coming from our historic preservation part of it. So there might be a design fee for that work.
Right.
And probably, again, there would have to be some consultant, and the second project is looking at the actual statue, and that might not be.
And some grants do cover the cost of, or help offset the cost of a
The
consultation
design work.
or the design work.
Yeah.
And it might be something where we look at like the mass, state where that can be like a yearly thing where one year we do get, maybe enough funding to cover the analysis and design of that, and then knowing, at
Then
least getting
the
an idea.
documents are made, then the next year.
Right, and then next year, okay, so now we know it might,
So
obviously
there's
year
an
to year,
estimate
we
from
can
it, yeah.
change in price, but at least we have a general like ballpark idea of what
Yeah,
that might be.
so the designer or engineer or whoever does it says, I think it's gonna be in this cost range,
Right.
so then you allocate like the library, well, the city has to
Right.
allocate so many millions of dollars for that particular building renovation, or it'd be the same thing for this, so. Okay, so,
So that's all I got.
so time frame is like, get all the stuff together by like November.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say I'd have a really good idea too of what I can find grant wise and when things are due.
Yeah.
And you have my information too.
Yeah,
In between there, I know summer gets extremely busy, on the rec department side and on the park side. But I'm definitely still a little, but when September rolls around, it kind of, we go from being like up here to then just taking an immediate
Sure.
drop
Yeah.
off, so.
yeah. Does that sound like a feasible
Oh, sure.
way to do it? Just so we keep having this on our agenda and we
Yeah, no,
we don't know
that's,
how to make action.
I think that's a good plan, and then, hope maybe by next year too, that things might take a swing if for, better wise, and the state maybe have more
Yeah.
funding and
Yeah.
the city may have more funding and.
Yeah, and this is definitely
It'll be done in stages.
we're partnered with people that actually get the stuff done, which is the parks and the city commission. We've been appointed to, oversee any repairs or design changes that happen. The library, the armory, the courthouse, the Christ Church and things like that. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So definitely, I say we get back to you in
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
fall. And we have the summer to kind of think about how we put this together. And again, we maybe through you and your commissioners, we have kind of this feasible way of approaching this particular one park that
Yeah.
City.
No, not a problem.
Great.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you for sharing your insights.
Could I ask about the no dogs prohibited sign?
They can take them down?
Everybody's.
Is it okay if Don takes his?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Socket wrench up there?
Yeah.
No, you don't take them down. They'll be down tomorrow, if not Monday.
We'll try to bail you out, but.
I had a teacher who said, if you get arrested, I'll bail you out, but don't call me until the morning. Don't call me at night because I'm asleep. I don't want to get up in the middle of the night to take a look. You have to spend the night in jail.
You don't take it off in the evening, take it off in the morning.
Right? That's right.
James, when you mentioned that 0.48%, was that DPW and parks?
No, that's just so, that's Parks and Recreation. The recreation side is probably about like 240 something, and the park side is about 500 and something.
Yeah, so he's, yeah.
So it's like 700 something between the two. Yeah.
Well, you do great work with,
Yeah.
with little money, so we appreciate that.
Good job of that.
So we try, I mean, I honestly, I do like the past. I wanna say from the last week of March till excluding this week, I was applying, there was a grant due every week and I got everyone in that I could. I have like a lull this week and then there's like another 3 weeks in a row with 3 other ones.
Yeah, wonderful.
So I honestly, I try my best to get the city as much as funding as possible, because I wanna see, especially the parts that I'm in charge of,
Yeah.
thrive.
Great job. Thank you.
And please feel free to reach out anytime,
Okay.
all right?
Great.
Thanks, guys, have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye, Jim.
All right, any? So, and
I just, I get so sad, just talking about how little these people have to work, to be able to carry out their work and,
Insufficient funding.
yeah,
well, I think I told you at the last meeting that, I think 80% of the budget is supported by residences, it's 70 something, and the rest is business. So one of the thoughts I've had is, addressing economic development, and we have an economic development director, but there is such a need.
yeah, as we're trying to point out in the MAID program is that preservation nearly always means a stabilization and an increase in property values. And we hope to kind of help reinforce this with our program and hopefully other things that we're doing. This is kind of just a little splash, but I think that and by increasing property values, the real estate taxes, people have more money to, their businesses are working and the properties are valuable. They're happy to pay the increase in the value of their property as the little mills of property tax that kind of go on to that, and the city has more funds to give back to the community, such as repair of their parks and
Yeah, and this isn't just a theoretical, hypothetical. There's so many other towns and communities that have already done this.
yeah.
Not just Massachusetts, but throughout
Oh, I know.
old mill towns.
Yeah, so it's which comes first, and I think it kind of all works together. Certainly, in a great old mill town like this, the heritage is here. And the potential for reaping on that and being able to collectively increase the value of individual property owners and
I don't know how to get through to them other than eating over and over again.
and that's true, and it's a hard thing to do. And as James saying, they don't have the money. Yeah, so, which comes first, and, so we hope to push on that, help push on that anyhow. So, moving, I say we start getting our understanding of grants and ideas of what some of the costs are going to be and focusing on this during the summer and really starting to act on it in early fall and getting the budgetary pieces and defining it as much as we can for Monument Park and coordinating that with James and the Parks Commission as I presume that they're involved in their budget submissions on that. And looking at the historic properties grants and things like that might be applicable to this. And there's a few out there. And see if we would qualify for those and how that becomes part of the process moving forward. And we've been standing still for years, and hopefully we get somewhere in sight that we have some repairs done in 2 or 3 years.
It's hard, it's hard to, to continue to try to sell something to the people who, make decisions about how money is going to be spent. And you get tired.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, if I've said this, I'm sorry, but when I announced that we were going to do a painting downtown, I had called some people, asking me, well, what could anybody paint downtown? And it was amazing, what they painted. And you're gonna laugh at me, but I like to look for the medallions of things that are on buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one, I haven't been to the Morning Square Diner for ages, but I used to look over at the Syndicate building, which was on the corner of Sway Passway and Main Street. And the medallions were beautiful there. And I was thinking that, and there's a lot of others too, that somebody could design jewelry, jewelry, taking the designs. They're beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, and we can't replicate that stuff, not on new buildings as easily as it's done, yeah. All right, moving back to item number 5, project to document and share Main Street building histories, historic districts, tax credits, etc. And we're working with the Historical Society a little bit with that. I don't know, Andy, do you have any updates or anything that
Taking some photos of buildings
mhm.
around the Union Street area and surrounding area, and I've been on Macros and I've been downloading like PDF files
Okay.
of the history of the building, so I have individual histories ready to go. These are, I've emailed out some of it, and then most of it's going to be stored in the historical on the server there for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If maybe next meeting, the end of May, you can give us a little visual of what some of that stuff looks like, everybody.
Well, and I feel badly because I was gonna get it to you. I have a carousel of the, downtown talks, that I used to give. And it has, material.
Some nice images in there,
Hmm?
nice images on slides, yeah.
I think so, I haven't done it for years.
Yeah, yeah. All right. That'll be great. Number 7, update on historic building demolition delay.
Yeah, it's, again, still struggling with where I wrote up last time, or that issue, and I looked at the Maynard list of historically significant buildings, the Historical Commission, and it says National Register of Historic Places, Historic Resources Inventory, MACRIS, and then Maynard Commission voted to include on list. And I was thinking, you know, we can't really do that here. I mean, there are so many buildings. And we don't even have a complete census of those buildings. And so to go one by one, all the buildings, if you have a smaller town, it's feasible. But for a place like Fitchburg, to go house by house or building by building and put it on the list.
Yeah, how about just doing the buildings that, support the various districts and they don't be Main Street? You know, the buildings that are, well, like the H. Francis buildings, and then the ones for, various Moore Square buildings.
Those would all be on the MACRIS list too, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, just, do that as a start. I mean, list them as a start. I'm sure people don't know.
The doc, we got from Jen Doherty. Seen that demolition delay communities.
Oh, yeah, I have that on
I
my,
already got one.
yeah, I have that on my,
Well, it's part of your
yes,
document.
resource
In your
book.
folder.
Resource book.
Yeah, yeah,
I see they go from 6 months to 18 months.
and I don't know what those time frames are based on.
You know, the buildings, commissioners here in Fitchburg, no,
Did it change?
Yeah,
no, is
what
there?
was Mark, wasn't it Mark, but then, is he still here? Wasn't it the fellow that here named Mark who talked to us? The guy the buildings commissioner?
Was he with Jim?
No,
Oh, there's a new building commissioner.
yeah, so Mark left.
Yes, Mark left.
Okay, so do we know who this?
Yes, Felix, I can't think of his name.
She sent you some emails. This is
Yes.
his name on the email.
It would be good to introduce ourselves to him. We've been here for a few months now and, introduce him to our thoughts on the proposed, ordinance. Yeah.
He sent out emails about the library project
Yes,
and the floodplain,
yes, yeah.
and whether the libraries in
Mhm.
like a couple of or not,
Okay, right.
which to me, I thought it was odd, it was taken out by
Yeah,
somebody.
I've also, and there's kind of a question on how it's interpreted as a historic district, and it's in the, not in a national district, although this new Upper Common District, if it ever goes through, it will be in a national register district, but it's in our local historic district. And it isn't individually listed in the local historic district. It's just a map. It includes all the buildings in it and to create and maybe that ordinance in creating districts, there isn't an opportunity to list buildings individually in it or create, or at least when this was done in 1975, it wasn't. But there was a historic district study committee
Yeah,
that had a full report on the district boundaries
Mhm.
and all of the district buildings in it. And that was the process, yeah, with a study committee, like if we wanted to make another district here in the city. Like you mentioned, Prospect Street or whatever, there would be a historic district study committee.
Mhm.
There would probably be our commission here, but we would have to go through that process, and there's a whole list of things that you can go through. And in that, I would think in that report from the district committee, it would list the individual buildings in it. So I have a request to the city clerk's office to see if we could get a copy of that 1974, whatever it is, study committee. To see
Yeah,
if,
Ralph served on that.
to see if, how, if the buildings were actually individually listed or not in there. So there's some semantics involved and, districts can be, local districts are different than a national registered district and how the buildings are listed. So there might be some interpretations there that,
Well,
we might be able to offer in that.
there was, interest, or I should say, they promoted the fact that every level of government was included in, as the owner of the buildings, We had county government at the time.
Yeah.
And the state and city.
That's a unique area. This, just for our own viewing and for any public that's watching this, this is a map of Fitchburg and what is called the MACRIS list, MACRIS.net. macris.mac-macris.net. Anyhow, this represents the surveyed buildings, and what Don's comment was, there's a lot more buildings in the city than just shown by the blue dots on this particular map. And should a kind of preservation of our historic resources through an ordinance that could propose a demolition delay, what other buildings that have not been surveyed should be included in this? Or, other options could be that, do we want to create for timeliness, do we want to create an ordinance that at least covers those listed in the inventory areas at a specific waiting period or delay period? And through amendments to the ordinance in the future, be able to, because we've been talking this for a number of years, that we move on a well-defined what we have in our resources at the moment, not being able to describe what those others are, and unless we go by a assessor's year built, 50 years old, 100 years old, whatever. We could go by this list and get an ordinance on the books and then amend the ordinance if we felt it wasn't working. That's another approach to it. Or we go with the year and then sift through the ones that, demolition permits. And if it's 50 years,
Yeah, Maynard says it doesn't do the year. proposed bylaws list space, not age of building. And we don't, I mean, is the mattress list? Do we know how that's compiled? How the decision is
How it
made
gets developed.
to include or not include? See, what I'm thinking, again, going back to what I wrote last time, is if we turn it, reverse it, instead of our trying to decide, well, should this building, which, you know, if one does say 50 years, well, how do you know that you're not just destroying a building that you know, that's within the 50-year, you know,
Mhm.
closer to us,
Right.
to the present 50,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that we later find out is of historic significance, like the birthplace of a future president, I mean,
Right,
something like that.
right, right.
And so, what I'm thinking is reversing this, kind of, like Springfield, which is to require a waiver from the person who wants to demolish a building, that it is not a historic significance. So it's not up to us to prove the historic significance.
Uh-huh.
It's up to them to prove that it's not
That
a
it
historic
isn't.
significance.
I see what you're saying.
Or make the case why it's not a historic significance. That still doesn't prevent the destruction of a building where a future president was born, but,
That we don't know. But it could be,
Have any other bullet points?
no, that's just those three.
Just those three.
Yeah. All right, so I'll have to think that through.
can it continue this, would it be worthwhile to invite our new building commissioner to
Yes.
one, send in our current copy of
Yeah,
a
because
draft.
the previous one, Mark said, well, he's not in a position to decide whether a building is historically significant or not. Whereas, remember 10 years ago, the guy who was a building commissioner says he was, therefore we didn't need a demolition delay, because he could decide whether the building was historically
Oh,
significant.
I've forgotten about that.
Yes.
So more than 10 years ago. Maybe not. Okay, just. Yeah, and it's important to have a building commissioner on board,
Yes,
or it's a strong voice, in how it works, and then certainly the mayor and council even educated on that, but I think starting with the building commissioner, kind of, and other agencies in the city being able to endorse it for its value. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to change the tone with this, is make people profess, yes, that is true. And we can then kind of work from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear what the new commissioner's thoughts are.
yes, whether he can decide or not decide.
Yeah.
Or is interested.
We can try that for May or June or something. And,
Sure.
Okay. And I will try to I will
You can have that.
I'll send you.
I'll try to make a point to make a beforehand meeting with him, just to kind of introduce us to him and then invite him to a meeting. And just so it's not kind of a cold call type of thing in the morning. What is this commission? Okay. The Okay, anything else down, Elaine? Questions?
No.
Okay. Moving on, update appreciation of, stone walls, stone structures. One thought is in the program, with certainly slides of our city heritage, maybe throwing some stone walls, field stone and quarried in some of the slideshow stuff in the program. I'm getting my personal revelation that Fitchburg is so unique with its retaining walls. In almost all the cities in Massachusetts, that it certainly gives it's part of the visual character of our city.
Well, we should have a wonderful picture of High Street, you know.
The High Street wall right
Going up
behind the
Chapman
stables,
Street.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice selling aluminum siding too.
Yeah, and then again, to muddy the water some more, in some, during my research, I found that some historic commissions and towns have a heritage tree ordinance.
Oh,
So these are significant trees that cannot be replaced. They're part of the history of the town. Protected from being chopped down, basically,
Yeah.
that otherwise would not be protected by
Any-
shade tree ordinance or anything. So it's there was an article in Earth Day in the New York Times about the need to restore urban forests. And one of the things he pointed out was people chop down trees for nonsensical reasons, you know, like, oh, I don't want to break up the leaves,
yeah.
you know, or getting in the way of my view, you know, and this is at a time temperatures are rising. The trees help Nashville, for example, which we also wrote, they have a tree ordinance. And because they found that the difference in degrees was as much as 9 degrees in those parts of Nashville that don't have trees from those that do have trees. Now, in a summer where you're having temperatures into the 90s, reaching into the 100s, 9 degrees is significant. That's a significant difference.
Oh, sure.
But, you know, Arlington Street, Arlington Street used to have not a lot of trees, but
It was tree line.
yeah, it was tree line. They're all gone. It's Bleak Street. Chopped down either by residents, or by, Unitil. It's just gone.
You know,
They're just
walking around the city, in the urban block areas. And you see the remains of street trees,
Mhm.
you know, with the metal grates and stuff around them, you know. They're this high that they cut off right there. And again, this is how we can, maybe out of our purview, but it's so important, like you're saying, to the livability of our communities and temperatures and stuff. It is a cost piece. They're city trees. Like after the ice storm of 2009, yeah. You know, there's still trees here in the city that haven't been pruned back from the damage in those, or, you know, and it costs money to do that. And who's doing that? And, you know, it's part of the DPW department's budget, and, you know, if you don't have the monies, these things kind of go away. But they are such an important part of our, you know, visual, kind of taking one down, you don't think much about it, but, you know, collectively, it makes such a big difference.
Yes.
So it's short-term heritage of the life of a tree.
Sorry.
Yes, no, these are all,
It's a downer.
yeah, important thing. We move on to Quincy Rail Trail. Item number 9, no further action on that at the moment. Although I think after we get through our May event, I'd like to concentrate on that again in June and July. And get back to the designers. It actually it's in the construction documents, and I believe the construction on the final phase of the rail trail will be starting this summer, which will be the bridge and final rail stuff coming, ramp things coming down to the
Main Street.
train station area.
Have you seen plans showing that?
Yes, yeah. I have some on my computer that I can bring them up maybe after I'm reading if you need to see those. So I'd like to defer that till after our May activities, and I think we still have time to get those designs in, and they purchased the signs in the contract or the design contracts. And just the graphics is what we have input to, so, and that can happen because the signs will be up for another year or so, from my understanding. Number 10, historic marker update. There have been no new applications this month. So I think we are good on that. Commission membership vacancy update. I've made an outreach looking for a realtor again, and I'm waiting for some feedback on that, but haven't heard anything yet, so. Let me know if you have any thoughts or suggestions coming through, so. Number 12.
You haven't heard anything from Chris?
No. If we could maybe make a call or something, that'd be good. So if we need to keep looking, that would be good. We would know where we stand on it. So. Number 12, this is website additions. We covered some of that in our program notes, and those I want to have on the website before the program begins. And since I was kind of waiting to see if we had any new members to put on the website update till I did that, so I think I'll go ahead and get these other things posted on there. The access to the preservation briefs and the preservation directory things, and we'll add those to the website. I'll start on that next week. Any new business? And our next meeting, which will be probably a quorum of our members, will be May 23rd, to celebrate Fitchburg's historic preservation event at the Legislative Building. That's at 4 p.m. and public's invited. And our next commission meeting, going over our regular business, will be 3 p.m. May 30th, 2024.
The celebrate meeting would be considered an official meeting for us.
Well, that's a good, that's I think if we have a quorum of members presenting or being involved in it, it may be official, and I'll post it as such. Which is good advertisement for it also, so people get those automatic postings, maybe they'll might show up and be aware of it too, so. That's one way of reading the open meeting law, so we'd rather be safe than sorry. And have a good May. One thing to note is that in May, following our 23rd meeting on the 25th, the quarry or the Rollstone Quarry Walk is scheduled for Saturday, the 25th, and you can look on their website for updates on it. So it's the Rock Walk, I believe, is the official name of it, and certainly an important heritage on the bend. So
I think on Sunday, May 26th at Monument Park is a program to honor, it's an honor event,
to a memorial
a
day.
memorial
Oh.
day.
Right.
Sally Craig and everybody was leading that.
So that would be the 26th.
Yeah, it's like 6 p.m. at the park.
Good. That's on Sunday.
Sunday, May 26th, I think it is.
And the next day is Memorial Day officially, I think.
Probably.
No, I don't know if the city has any.
Is the 26th, you said it was a Monday?
Sunday.
Should be a
A Sunday, yeah. Saturdays are our walk.
23rd to Tuesday, right, on the program.
Thursday, 14, yeah. And our next planning meeting for that event is on the 6th of May, which is Monday.
Yeah, the 1 o'clock.
You're welcome to join that. I don't know if I should post that on our. Okay, motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Unanimous, thank you very much. This is the end of the historical commission meeting.